Welcome to chapter 9 of the book of Numbers. Continues with the instructions of the Lord, and we get a timeline here. In this chapter, it says, "And the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness, Erimo." We have a hermit, comes from that word, hermit, Erim, in the wilderness of Sinai, which wasn't that far from Egypt, because Moses went from Egypt, fled, and when he fled from Egypt, it says he went to the land of Midian. I don't think it was the Midian way over west of the Dead Sea, but it was a land that's called Midian that is fairly close to Egypt and the Sinai and by the Red Sea. And he ended up marrying Jethro's daughters. And then he saw the burning bush on Mount Horeb, which I believe is the mount that was there in the Sinai towards Egypt. And then he went back and brought all the people back out of Egypt, and they went back to that Mount Horeb where they're at right now. It's only a little over a year out. You would think when you read all these things all the way now through Numbers 9, that a lot of this would have happened. A lot of people show a mountain down at the southern tip of the Sinai Peninsula because it's higher, and you think that this was over quite a long period of time, because the children of Israel went around in the Sinai for 40 years after they disobeyed God by going into Canaan. But this part it all happened within a year. So it says, in the second year of their coming from out of the land of Egypt, in the first month. So that's only less than a year, actually, because I think it took them the first year, the first month that God designated. They didn't leave on that particular day, I don't believe. Here's a timeline chart that I have here. So 1:1 was in Exodus 12:12, the first day of the year, and then the 10th, the sheep were chosen for slaughter on the 14th Passover. So 2 weeks later. So here we have 2 weeks for the next Passover that's going to appear. So it's 1 year later. All these things happen. And now we see down here on 1:14, the first month, the 14th, Numbers 9:1, the Passover. And God says, "Speak," in the imperative. And I put "saying" in there because it doesn't say that, but to me that's what it's meaning. Speak, and let the sons of Israel prepare the Passover according to its season. I suppose you could take "saying" out. Speak, saying, and let the sons of, it would be obvious, I suppose, speak, and let the sons, so I'm not sure, maybe I should scratch that out, for it probably doesn't need to be there, so we'll take that out. And let the sons of Israel prepare the Passover, the Paschal lamb. You've heard that word, according to its oron, season. Now down here, it's according to its time. So oron is also an hour. It's a short period of time. And kairon in the accusative, is a time, a season, more or less. Really, then there's a third one, is chronos, where we have chronology, and that's another time, more of a certain time of the day and so forth. Kairos is a broader time, and oron is an hour, but I don't think according to its hour, maybe that's what it means. But I put season down because that is in some of the dictionaries, but that's questionable. That's why I have that underlined. And on the 14th day of the first month. Towards evening you shall observe it, according to its kairos, time of the year, according to its nomon, Deuteronomy, the second law, astronomy, nomon, and according to the interpretation given for it, you shall observe it. So do it as he mentioned the first mention of it earlier. And Moses spoke to the sons of Israel. Now here, see, his 4160, I told you before how it's the number one verb in the Bible. To do, maybe outside of to be would be number 1, 1510. This would be the second, 4160. And to do, it's a simple word to use, but a lot of times it just doesn't go along with the meaning of the context, doesn't go along with the context. So here you can see where it's, I have to observe the Passover. You could say to do the Passover, and that would be correct. Commencing on the 14th day of the month in the wilderness of Sinai, as the Lord gave orders to Moses. Thus the sons of Israel did. And there's did here, to do. Now, in the wilderness of Sinai, we've mentioned earlier, you can go back to where they came to the Sinai and where it's located, has maps and so forth. Thus the sons of Israel did. And men came who were unclean by reason of touching a psyche, and mainly a dead soul, because this is what it means, of a man. Everybody touches a person, that wouldn't make them unclean. A dead soul would, could be just reason of, who were unclean by reason of touching a unclean soul, maybe even, I'm not sure there, but it could be unclean, or a dead, I put dead, and they were not able to observe the Passover in that day because they were unclean. Supposedly they couldn't observe it. And they came forward before Moses and Aaron on that day. And those men said to them, Moses and Aaron, we are unclean by reason of the dead soul of a man. Are we then lacking so as to bring the gift to the Lord according to its kairos, time, in the midst of the sons of Israel? And Moses said to them, well, stand yourself, and I will hear what the Lord gives charge concerning you. So Moses is going to go into the either the tent or his own tent or the tabernacle or the temple. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the sons of Israel, saying, a man whoever becomes unclean by reason of a dead soul of a man, or he's on a journey far from you, even among your generations, shall observe the Passover to the Lord. He shall observe. I could put he in there. Maybe I would be better. And that shows you that this is, he is okay to do exactly that. He shall observe the Passover of the Lord. And in the second month, on the 14th day, towards evening, they shall prepare it. Upon unleavened breads and bitter herbs, they shall eat it. It goes back to the earlier description of how they are to do this, and when earlier in Genesis. Let's see if that was on that map here. The unleavened breads. That's in Leviticus 23:6. They shall not leave behind any of him into the morning. That's the Passover sacrifice. I'm not sure why it uses a him, but because it was a male, I suppose. And they shall not break a bone of his. And you can see down here in John 19:36, it mentions that when they went to break the bones of the people, the two robbers and Jesus on the crucifix, the cross, that when they got to Jesus, they did not break it, and then they stabbed him, and water and blood came out, and they didn't break the bone. It says, because in here, John 19:36, they shall not break a bone of his. So it's sort of relating the Passover with Jesus and there's the lamb to this place right here in Exodus. According to the law of the Passover, they shall observe it. And so they're not to break a bone of the sacrifice, Passover. And a man, whoever might be clean, and is not on a journey far away, and should lack to observe the Passovers, doesn't either have the money to buy it or doesn't have a family, actually not. If he lacks to observe it, basically he should be observing it though. If he's clean and he's on a journey far off, he can still do it, even like they do here in the United States. That soul shall be utterly destroyed. Now, I don't know why my links are not working. Go on. Seems like I always having linkages problems here. Well, now it's there. There it goes. That soul shall be utterly destroyed from out of its people, because the gift to the Lord he offered not according to its time. That man shall take his sin. But if a foreigner should come to you in your land and would observe the Passover to the Lord, then according to the law of the Passover and according to its arrangement, thus he shall observe it. That's what I was thinking earlier. There will be one law to you, both to the foreigner, the proselyto, the proselyte, and the native born of the geese of the land. So this is what God is now telling Moses to tell the people to prepare for the first Passover after they left. Now it changes and it says, in the day which the tent was set up, a cloud covered the tent and the house of the testimony. So this cloud would be over just the tent, not a very big area, just a little small, but there would be some sort of a cloud above it. Must have been quite a sight. And in the evening there was upon the tent as a form of fire until morning. Somehow it glowed as a fire, and that must have been quite a sight also. So it was always the cloud covered it by day, and the form of fire by the night, nikta, nocturnal, emeris, ephemeral, derivatives. And when the cloud ascended from the tent, the skies, then after this the sons of Israel departed. And in the place wherever the cloud stopped, there the sons of Israel camped. By order of the Lord, the sons of Israel shall camp, and by order of the Lord they shall depart. Now, we don't have a tabernacle. Israel doesn't even have a temple. There's no tabernacle. And as I mentioned, we are the tent, the temple of the Lord. It says that many places in the New Testament. Jesus says that. And now, do we have a cloud over us or a fire? I don't see that. I don't feel like I have a cloud over me directing me when I'm supposed to do things, or a fire. And I was thinking, well, what would be the substitute? And I came up with, the Lord gave me to me and said, well, the Bible, my word, is the substitute. You don't have to look for this celestial or natural phenomenon. All you have to do is open his Bible, his book, every day and read it, and it will show you when you need to make decisions of which way you should go. It's worked for me, and I would think it would work for you also, with prayer and prayers of others, and obedience to the Word of God. If you're in disobedience and going to the Word but yet not doing it, it's like a person that calls me up and asks for my opinion. I give them my opinion, and they go and do the opposite. And I've had more than one person do that. Well, what kind of car do you think I should get? Do you think I should get this? Oh, I think you should get this kind. Oh, they do the opposite, get something else. All the days in which the cloud shadows over the tent, the sons of Israel shall camp. And whenever the cloud should be dragged upon the tent for many days, it's there. That dragged is kind of a, I don't know, whatever word, slowed down or hovering, maybe, hovering upon the tent. So maybe I should check out, see if that's a hover. So let me write that in here. Hover. Hovered. Yeah. Whenever it should be hovered. I'm not sure. I'll have to look in a dictionary. That the sons of Israel shall guard the watch of the Lord. These watches were regulations of certain things, of times to do things, when not to do them, the lightings of the certain fires and the candles, the lamps and the sacrifices and holidays and so forth, all part of the watches. We have sort of like, a lot of the churches have certain watches. I grew up in the Lutheran church, which I'm not a denominationalist any longer, but they had Lent, which isn't in the Bible. I don't see any word called Lent. And it was a certain period of time before Lent, I think it was before Easter, and other times that were not really biblical. But they did have biblical times to watch for. And in no way shall they lift away whenever this cloud should hover over the tent. And it shall be whenever the cloud should become of a number of days upon the tent, a long time, by the voice of the Lord they shall camp, and by the order of the Lord they shall depart. So then, if it's going to be a long time, then apparently the Lord would tell them to prepare for a long time here, 6 months or a year. In Sinai, they were there almost a year. And depart, then it will be by order of the Lord, I assume, through Moses, because this is all when that was about. And it shall be whenever it shall be whenever should be present. The cloud should be present from evening until morning, and the cloud should ascend in the morning. Then they shall depart by day or night, or when being more than a month of days of the cloud shadowing upon it, the sons of Israel shall camp, and in no way shall they depart. For by order of the Lord they shall depart. Spoken word to Moses, I suppose. They guarded the watch of the Lord by order of the Lord by the hand of Moses. Now, when they are going to depart, they have a ritual to do there, for ritual or orders, and we'll find out about the signal of the trumpets in chapter 10. I hope you'll join us in the next video. Until then, God bless.